I'm gonna go to the Beth cam so you don't see your faces just looking at the phone.
Oh, maybe this is it.
Alright, we're live on Facebook.
We are live. Uh-oh. Crank this down. Dude, I didn't even eat dinner tonight.
Why?
Because my family was over at my parents' house eating dinner, and I was busy doing that woodworking project, and...
So you didn't eat?
Yeah, I just forgot to eat.
The look.
Tell the audience hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Our dear friend Juan is on the buttons this evening. We have our bodyguard, Jim, here in case somebody comes in wreaking havoc on my house, which I'd be very upset about. Are we ready, Dave?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
I did find the website.
Good. Kathy Nunick. Kathy, I really hope someday that you and I get a chance to meet in person. You were just so lovely.
¿Listo?
Spirits. Boom, the Catholic Man Show or Sunday Night Football. Why not both, Leek? Why not both?
Buenos nos mesnos dos.
Like, why don't you just do both? Because you like to party. You can watch the football game, mute the football, turn us on, crank us up to 11, and that is how you should spend your Sunday evening.
You're trying to watch television and listen to the radio at the same time?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to do that?
Because I like to party.
Because I like to party.
I know for a fact you don't like to party. I'm the party guy.
Hi, I'm Dave, and I like to party. No, guys, I'm the party guy. Hi, I'm Ryan, and I like to party. Ryan, I'm the party guy. I'm Bill, and I like to party. Bill, I know for a fact you do not party.
All right, let's go on. Let's do this.
Warning. The Catholic Man Show contains high levels of manliness. It's simple, really. You either want to grow in virtue and holiness, or you want to be a sissy whiny baby. If you choose to move forward, grab your whiskey glass, because the Catholic Man Show
One,
starts.
none of our none of the Cubase is turned on. We're good. Just do two as well.
And turn off the fourth one. No, turn that one off. There you go.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We are on the Lord's team, the winning side. So raise your glass. Adam Minahan here, sitting with David Niles, Juan on the buttons.
Having these papers here makes me feel like I'm on the news. And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Fair enough. We have Jim in studio with us, our bodyguard, just in case somebody comes in.
In case there's any lunatics out there.
Yeah, wreaking havoc on my house.
If any lunatics come in here, Jim's going to be like, Mama said knock you out.
Mm-hmm. He's in his muscle tee, so it'll happen.
Looking good over there, Jim.
Yeah. Dave, I'm super pumped about what we have going, like upcoming. I don't know if you know this.
I was going to say, tell me.
Let me inform you, because
I might know. I might not.
One, we're going to be on Catholic Answers Focus.
Yep,
I
knew that.
We're recording. I don't know when they're going to air it.
I knew that.
But it's going to be a 2-part series.
And you know what? They might.
They may never air it.
They might be like, yeah.
Yeah, we regret this.
Put that one in like the emergency file.
Right.
Just, I mean, if something.
Well, I mean, it's a 2-part series, so they're putting a lot of eggs in a basket.
Yeah.
We're going to be on...
Risky.
Yeah, we're going to be on the... what's that? Human Life podcast coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Which will be a whole lot of fun talking about pro-life stuff. Anything about pro-life.
I'm all about that. It's going to be a fun time.
We're going to have Father Gregory Pine on the Catholic Man Show next month, which I'm super pumped about.
A lot of people don't know him, probably. I mean,
I think a lot of people
a lot of people do know him, but
If
it's
they
not like he's Matt Fradd.
Well,
or,
if they listen to Matt Fradd, they know him.
okay, you're
That
right.
was a bad
that
example.
was a bad example
Right.
about someone who he's not.
Right. That was a bad example. But anyway,
He's less mainstream than other people.
he's a Dominican priest.
Yeah.
He has a podcast called Godsplaining. Well, is the Dominican, not whatever the. A lot of the Dominicans have this podcast.
Some sort of a group.
Yeah, what is it?
Of
Is it
multiple
order?
pe- of
An
multiple
order.
people.
That is what I was trying to think
There's
of.
several people in there.
Right.
They're the
Yes.
same in some
Woo.
way. There's something about them in common. I don't remember.
Right. The order.
So I got to tell you this story.
Okay.
Let this.
Wait, hold on. Can I finish what we have? Because we have something.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
David Bates. We're gonna have David Bates coming
Yeah.
on from Pints with Jack.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good friend of ours. And then we're going to have the Catholic Man Show Camp Out coming up. We only have like a couple of spots left, so go to thecatholicmanshow.com and you can sign up. We have people from Canada, all over the U.S. coming in.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast.
We're going to be doing cigar rolling classes.
Yes, we're going to have a Tomas, who we had on Cigar 101. You can look that up if you're a newbie at cigars and want to know a little bit more about it.
From Ultimo Cigars.
Mm-hmm. He's going to come and we're going to do hand rolling experience.
Yeah, he's going to. So you will get to roll your own cigar. He'll give you a cigar to enjoy while you roll a cigar.
It's going to be awesome. Brendan, how do you say his last name?
Sheard.
Brendan Sheard's going to be on the Catholic Man Show coming up.
Yep.
And dude, I am so
You
pumped.
might finally get an answer to your question about what
how
is
thick
the
bacon.
the thickness of bacon.
Right.
What is it?
So excited.
What is the?
Tell him about
If God is eating bacon, how thick is it?
Tell him about the class that we're going to take.
Okay, so Brandon
him.
Sheard, I forget the company he works at.
Well, it's his. It's like
I forget the name of it.
It's like Farm something.
Yeah.
Meat.
Yeah, it's
Meat
like
Smith.
Meat Smith, something like that. Anyway, he's coming in to do a class for 20 people here in Tulsa, of which I am one, where at the beginning of the class, there will be a live pig. At the end of the class, there will be a butchered pig.
Right. And he's going to teach us how to
humanely
cut this pig up.
to kill the pig, how to butcher it, how to eviscerate it.
Right.
That's
Ooh,
what that was.
I like that.
That was one of the. Thank you. That was in the email. That was one of the things. Like I thought, eviscerate was you just like wipe it out of existence.
No.
But maybe that's not what it means.
Turns out that's not the correct definition.
That's the way I've been using it my whole life.
Your whole since you were 6,
Yeah,
basically.
or younger.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. So anyway, so now we got into that. Tell me your story that you were going to say.
Okay. So, my wife and I, we did a Catholic Engage encounter this last weekend. Somebody asked a question that was like to the effect of, you talk about the man being the head of the household. Isn't that old-fashioned? Doesn't that put us women down?
Someone asked that?
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah. It was a fair. I mean, they weren't being.
Right.
It was a fair question.
Sure.
So I get up there and I said, "Let me mansplain this to you." Literally what I said.
That's what you said?
Literally what I said.
Did they cut your mic?
I have no idea. No, they didn't cut. It's like, who's there to, like when you're the presenting couple, you're in charge. I mean, it's like it's your show.
It's
It's sort of like this.
right. Once you hit record,
Who's gonna stop me?
How did that go?
Well, I don't know because the questions are submitted anonymously, so I don't know whose question it was. So I think it went pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Okay, well let's jump into our drink this evening.
Okay, so
We're going back on our regular scheduled format.
Yeah.
The last couple of weeks we have not been.
Back to our roots.
Yes. The first thing we do
Feels
is
good to do.
we open, review, and enjoy a drink. The second thing we do is highlight a gear of some sort, and then we have a topic.
Yeah, talking about a miter saw today.
I'm excited about that. I have
Yeah.
some things to say about this.
Pretty manly saw,
But
but we got a pretty manly
pump
drink.
the brakes. Yeah, let's talk about the drink first.
It's a gift from a manly man.
Oh yeah, a Patreon supporter, and before a Patreon supporter, a good friend of ours,
Yes,
Taylor Baranco.
Taylor Baranco. He gave it to me at the annual wiffle ball tournament.
I'm so upset I missed that this year.
Yeah, that's really too bad. You should tell.
Well, your team suffered because we weren't there. That's debatable, I'm sure.
That is debatable. It's actually very debatable.
Haley was a softball player, so
Yeah.
she, I mean, at least you can say
no. I mean, like
she was really good.
She is really good, no doubt. The lady that we had replacing her was pretty good as well. Her brother is a major league player, and I didn't know that.
So we've been replaced.
until I saw her swinging. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on.
Are we going to be invited next year?
It depends if you throw any money my way.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the drink. What is it?
So this is Fireside Colorado Bourbon Whiskey.
Okay.
It's from Mile High Spirits in Colorado.
Denver.
In Denver. It's a bourbon, so it's going to be 51%, at least 51% corn.
Correct.
When he gave it to me, I felt like we looked it up, and this number could be wrong. I'm just going on my hunches here, but I want to say it's 7% rye.
Okay.
I know that it does have some rye in here, so that kind of gives it a nice...
A little bit of a bite.
Spice.
It's a pepper.
A little pepper at the
Peppercorn.
end. Right, yeah.
White peppercorn, typically.
White pepper? Mm-hmm. That's racist, but whatever.
Okay.
You know, you do you, Adam. Okay. You do you.
All right. Well, let's try this out. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers to
Ooh,
Jesus.
that was a good one. Also, give Jim his. Also, hold on. It's our mother's birthday.
We just cheersed and clinked. You drink after you clink.
Well,
I mean,
you're supposed to give it a toast.
Well, we clinked.
Okay. Well,
you can sip and then give another. You don't have to do all the toasting before
at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right. It was really fun whenever we were Haley and I were engaged and we did the pre-wedding
pre-cana stuff.
Dinner, where everybody comes in. My parents, this is like...
Oh, the rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, the rehearsal dinner.
They call that the rehearsal dinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
My parents, who are like, this is so them, they had everybody stand up one at a time and give a toast to Haley and I. So it was like 30 minutes
I remember this.
Of people just standing up and being like, you guys are great. Cheers. And it's like, you guys are pretty cool. Cheers. It's just over and over again.
And you hated to be at the end because...
everything has already been said.
Right. What else are you going to say?
Right. What did you think of the drink?
It's really great. I tried it. I mean, it's not my first time to try it. I had it then, and it was great then, and I know it's great now. But let me just read you. This is kind of funny.
Toast.
Stand by. Let me do the...
Juan's
getting excited.
Juan is like giving us directions now. It's 2 minutes left. Okay, Juan is like giving us, thinking he's the producer. And
we can do toast anytime, but I can't give the tasting. I want to give the tasting notes here.
Go ahead.
The look. This is from the website Mile High Spirits. The look is a sexy, warm amber hue.
Okay.
When you see that color, do you think like that is a sexy color?
No. Continue.
The nose, an intoxicating aroma of toasted oak, caramel, and vanilla. That's vanilla for you non-cultured people out there. Did I say that right? Is that right, Juan?
Yes, cool. That is correct on the nose. Keep going.
Okay. Wow. We're sprinting here. The taste, full-bodied, sweet, spicy, robust, and it says smooth as hell. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily kosher here on the Catholic Man Show. I don't think they've been to hell before. I'm just going to say that.
Hell isn't smooth.
I doubt it's something you'd call smooth.
Right.
Maybe the road there is pretty smooth.
Right.
The road on the way to hell
is wide and
nice
smooth.
and easy, baby.
Yeah.
But it says a touch of sweetness. They do some things like they make their own yeast.
Okay.
They ferment their own yeast. That's kind of cool. So
I like local stuff.
Yeah.
The finish is not as long as what I thought it would be if there's a little rye in there.
With a little bit of rye. Yeah, but you can. It does have that nice pepper at the end. Instead of just.
Yeah, it has a little bit at the end.
Which I like. I like.
But it's a short finish.
The manly stuff. Is it?
It's a short finish. When we get back, we're going to jump into the gear. We'll give a toast to our mother with it being her birthday. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
I actually have a group of guys watching somewhere. Joe Forler.
Yeah, he's from here.
See? Okay.
He's a great guy.
Dan, Vince, and Ryan. They're all together somewhere.
Nice.
Sweet. Who is?
Dan, Vince, and Ryan.
Oh, nice.
Smoking cigars, drinking.
Well, if they're listening to us, then their evening has has gone down.
The patio of Columbia Hall.
Let's keep going. What do you think?
Yeah.
Just keep rolling. Juan,
Good.
is that okay with you?
Yeah, approve.
You approve? Okay.
And welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm lead anchor David Niles. Here with Coffee Boy Adam Minahan. Thanks for listening. Drink a little Fireside bourbon.
In moderation.
I don't think it has a short finish.
You don't?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
Juan doesn't either.
That's a quorum.
I'm the minority.
That's a quorum. You
Yeah.
lose.
Okay.
We're a board. We're a drinking board.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's a board people are trying to get on. I'll tell
The
you.
drinking board.
Salary's not very high, but the benefits. That's where it's at.
With it being our mother's birthday
Yes.
on the 8th. Today's the 8th. If you're listening to this live on the radio, it's the 12th, so you should definitely grab a croissant and coffee. If you don't know what that means, go back and listen to our episode last week with Father Sean Donovan.
Word.
But you want to give a toast?
I will toast Taylor and give you the honor of toasting Our Lady.
Okay.
Taylor, I raise my glass to you in thanks for your generosity. I pray that, well, do we want to should we make sidebar? Should we make toasts prayers? I think that's what they kind of turn into. You know what I mean?
A toast for a Catholic toast is some.
It's kind of like
bleeds
praying
into-
with a drink in your hand.
Okay, go ahead. Keep
You
going.
know, anyway, I raise my glass to your health, to your family, and to your vocation.
Okay. Cheers. To our mother, who we thank for keeping evil away today. We ask this night that she continues to keep evil away and continues to crush the head of Satan, and that we all fall in love more deeply with her, so that we may continue to fall more deeply in love with our Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior.
Cheers.
Cheers. Happy birthday, our mother.
Here, here. You know, like the old-fashioned cartoons when there was a guy, cartoon character, he's trying to decide what to do, and then the demon and the angel show up.
Mm-hmm.
And the demon and the angel, they clearly know each other, right?
Right.
I mean,
yes. It's almost like
there's a rapport.
It's like there are two sides of one coin.
Right. I don't know if I would say that, but they, co-workers maybe.
Okay.
I can imagine when Mary's born, like the angel kind of snickering to himself and the demon going like, "What's so funny?" "Nothing." "Why are you laughing?" "No reason." "You're gonna get it." "What'd you say?" "Nothing, I didn't say anything." "She's gonna beat you up so bad."
For all of eternity.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So that's exciting. Let's get into the gear.
Yeah. Okay. So the gear for today is the miter saw. I don't know. Let me get your opinion on this.
Okay.
If you're starting, I don't have a miter saw. You have
Very unfortunate.
I know. I am limited by space. I have a space constraint.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. But it seems like if you're gonna have one saw, a miter saw. Would you say a miter saw is the one to have? Table saw, miter saw.
The reason why I like the miter saw is because I think there's probably people who disagree with this, but for the most part, I think it's the saw to have the ordinary dad, the ordinary guy,
Right.
Should have this.
Right.
Because it's not the most versatile saw,
No.
but for the bang for your buck,
Mm-hmm.
I think the miter saw is very appropriate.
Because I mean, really, typically with a, you can do just everything you can do with a miter saw. You can do with the handheld version. What do you call
just a handsaw.
a hand? You just call that a handsaw?
Yeah, electric handsaw.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought there was a different name for it, but the miter saw allows you to do things with precision.
Correct, because you can do angles. So a lot of times if you're doing
consistent angles,
if you're doing like crown molding, if you're doing floorboards, things like that. Like so, for instance, I used a miter saw all weekend long. This weekend, Haley asked that I make a baby crib. We have little baby Leo coming in November, and because she's going to be having a C-section, the C-sections are really tough on the abs naturally. It's a much longer recovery. Correct. Yeah. And you're obviously sore. I don't know that this is what Haley is telling me. I've never had one. But you're very sore, and so bending down, picking up a baby and putting him back in the crib is very tough. So I'm building a crib that is flush with our bed, so she can just kind of roll over, set him in the crib, and roll back over. I posted a picture of my progress on my Instagram page. You can go check that out.
Co-sleeping is the word I was trying to think of earlier when you were showing it to me. Yeah, it's like a crib for co-sleeping, kind of. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they call them.
I used the miter saw quite a bit to cut the slats in the crib, and so you're able to cut exactly.
Because you want angled cuts that are all exactly the same.
Exactly the same. So here's a couple things you need to think about before buying a miter saw. There's different sizes. Mm-hmm. There's like a 7.5 inch. That's typically just for the floorboards, crown molding kind of thing. I do not advise getting that one. It's not as you can't use it for a lot of different things. The other two sizes are typically the 10 inch and the 12 inch. I think they do have a 15 inch. I don't think it's very common though. I'm not positive on the 15 inch.
Why couldn't you use a 10 inch or a 12 inch on
You can.
crown molding?
You can. Is
there advantage to having a smaller blade?
It's just lighter. It's more portable. It's easier to use.
Okay. So if you're carrying it around all the time,
right?
Okay.
Because when you're doing crown molding or floorboards, you're moving a lot.
Right, but it's not going to help you be more precise necessarily.
No. There's nothing more precise about it.
Okay.
But you would think the 12 inch is the way to go, right? Because it's kind of the biggest one, and like you can always go down, but you can't go up.
Right, because you can put a smaller blade on it, can you not?
No, you're not supposed to do that.
You can't do that?
No.
Okay, don't do that.
But I don't... The thing you need to worry about with the 12 inch...
Unless you're really brave.
The thing you need to worry about with the 12 inch is it's going to cost more for the blades. So you're paying a lot more for the blades. So I personally like the 10 inch. I think that for the most part with the miter saw, that's what I have, and I think for the most part, the things that you use a miter saw for, a 10 inch does just fine. Mm-hmm. It's the most cost effective. You can typically get one for about $100, $120. That's a good one. You can catch a lot of the used ones even less than $100. Yeah. But I think that overall, and they've gotten pretty sophisticated with these miter saws these days. They have the lasers.
Right, that show you exactly where the cut's going to be.
Right.
That really is nice.
It is nice. When you're cutting, here's a little tip for you. When you're cutting, you need to think about, if you've measured it out, you need to think about the width of the blade.
Right. So
if you mark a pencil down with the wood, you need to make sure that the blade is on the outside of that pencil mark if it equals the measurement that you're trying to get to.
You want to take out only the graphite. So you want to have the... Don't be on the inside of the mark.
Inside of the mark.
Yeah, you want to be on the outside of the mark because you can always sand it down a little bit or whatever.
Right. You always want to cut bigger if you have to. I mean,
you want to err on the long side.
Right. Measure twice, cut once is typically what they say. But
yeah,
if you're going to, you can't ever add wood back. Mm-hmm. So cut short.
Because if you don't think about that, then you might end up with bad corners.
Well, it's super frustrating whenever you're trying to put like some kind of box together, like some kind of frame together, and you have 4 sides, and the last side is just a little off, like 1/8 of an inch off.
Yeah.
And now it's not quite level. It's not a 90-degree angle, and you have to recut wood, and you're wasting it. So it's a learning process, but that's why I like the miter saw. So I didn't know anything. The reason why I have so much like love for the miter saw is because I associate it with the first house that I bought that you and I lived in. It was a total fixer-upper. We had to redo all the crown mold, or all the floorboards, all of the crown molding. Anything that we had in that house was basically had to be redone.
Yeah, and there was no air conditioning when we were doing it too. It was the worst. If I was wiser, I would not have helped you.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
I say that in love.
Right.
You know that.
Right. But the miter saw was such a versatile tool that we used while like renovating this our house.
Yeah.
We use it for so many different things. So I associate it with like, you know, the gear we typically focus on like being prepared as a man. You're supposed to be ready to you know, to take on whatever comes at you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to make sure, you know, to be ready at all times. The miter saw is kind of like this tool that you're able to achieve anything, like a lot of things that are coming at you as a homeowner.
Mm-hmm. And if you really want, I mean, these days, you know, the miter saw goes up and down, up
They
and
even
down.
have the slide,
but now
the
you can
glide.
pull them towards you, push them away, and so, you know, if you have the 10-inch versus the 15, for
Or the
instance,
12.
the 12-inch even, I
Right.
mean, whatever. You know, you lose the width of the blade by having a smaller blade, but if it can move back and forth,
Right.
then it kind of doesn't matter.
Right.
And that is really, really nice if you have to cut something that's bigger. Because, you know, the downside of the miter saw is if the piece of wood is wider than the blade that you're using, basically it's worthless. Because if you pull it down and then you have to move the wood and try to pull the blade back down exactly in the groove.
It's tough to do.
You're not going to be able to do that. If that's what you're trying to do, you should be using a table saw or something else.
Right.
But if your miter saw can move back and forth, it can kind of become more than one. You can use it for more than one saw.
Right.
And maybe you don't need a table saw or something else, you know.
So if you're a new, you know, homeowner or something like that, you're having to renovate your home, and you're thinking, what tools should I go buy? I think the miter saw would be a great purchase, especially for renovations of homes. When we get back, we're going to talk about vengeance. We'll be right back.
So the guy was, his name is Farm Homestead Meat Smith.
Yeah.
Homestead Meatsmith. I knew there was, Homestead Meatsmith. Brandon. Yeah. That's... How do you want to tackle this topic, since it's your topic?
Logically.
Ooh, that is a good way to do so.
Yeah, I don't know exactly really what you're even asking, but I hope that answers your question.
Was there anything that you want, with me bringing it back in, is there something that you want me to tee up for you? The definition, or is that a good place to start? What would you like me to do? I'm just trying to make you look better.
You can just ask me a question, maybe.
Okay.
Any question.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Adam?
Nope.
I want to give you a good answer to your question. I hope. I'm just over here doing my best.
You're doing okay.
Thank you.
Crystal?
I know you really mean that.
One, you think? Yep. Okay. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Sitting here sipping on a little bit of Fireside bourbon whiskey, courtesy of Mr. Taylor Barenko. We're going to talk about
Why don't you give
vengeance.
Taylor a middle name? Like, if you're just going to give him a middle name, what do you think it would be?
I was going to say something. I was like, that's not appropriate for...
Good call.
Yeah, I exercise prudence in my...
Excellent.
Yes. I would give him a name such as Berkey, because he's the one that introduced me to the Berkey.
Taylor Berkey Barenko.
The bees.
Yeah.
Alliteration.
Sweet. Okay. I was just curious.
Mhm.
What kind of middle name you might give?
We're gonna talk about vengeance.
Hey, I forgot to ask you. Do you like guacamole?
I think that it's interesting that you picked the virtue of vengeance
Yeah.
on our mother's birthday.
Yeah. Suck it, Satan.
Yeah.
Take some of that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah. Just crush the head.
Quick question before we wrap up the miter saw.
We already did.
Cordless, not cordless.
Definitely cordless, or definitely cord.
Yeah. You want a power cord for a miter saw.
Right.
Don't buy a battery. You are gonna regret it.
Yeah, don't do
You're
that.
gonna regret it.
So
That's all I wanted to I wanted to throw that in there.
thank you. Is vengeance a sub virtue of justice?
Yes. Next question.
What is what is vengeance?
Vengeance is a sub virtue of justice. Vengeance is essentially the kind of punishment,
Retribution.
retributive justice.
yeah.
It's retributive justice in action.
Okay.
Okay. And so-
Retributive justice in action.
yes. And Thomas Aquinas reckons it a special virtue.
Reckons it a special virtue?
Yeah. He actually asked the question whether vengeance is a special virtue. He asks that question a lot about different virtues.
Or different words in general, whether or not they are actual virtues.
Well, yeah, and then he'll ask, is it a special virtue? And I think he kind of means, is it a sub virtue? And he says, yes, it is a special virtue. So a lot of people associate vengeance with revenge.
That's, I mean, I agree.
I think that people think those are synonyms. They can be. They also are situations where they're not synonyms.
Okay.
And once again, definitions are important. It depends on what you mean by revenge. And I think that people often mean, like, I'm getting you back. I owe you. And I'm getting you back simply to satisfy myself. That's revenge.
Okay.
You know, the motivations behind revenge are selfish. You hurt me, now I want to hurt you. Kind of an eye for an eye sort of thing.
Okay.
And that is not vengeance. Vengeance, like we said, is the exercise of retributive justice. So revenge has nothing to do with justice. Because justice is a virtue, revenge is a vice. Okay, so we're talking about opposite sides of the coin here. And this is one of those virtues, like so many, that your interior disposition is really what is going to be the key factor in whether or not you could call any particular action a virtue, vice, or whatever.
Okay.
Where it falls on the scale is not completely, but almost completely dependent on your interior intent,
Motives.
your interior disposition, your motivations. Yes.
So if I was to take on this act of vengeance, if you did something to me and I was going to take revenge or take an act to rectify this situation, but it was to inflict pain or evil on you, is that considered a virtue or a vice?
Well, it depends on your motivation.
Well, my motivation is to get back at you, to inflict pain on you,
simply for your own pleasure of inflicting pain on me?
because I think you deserve it.
Well, are you doing it in order to honor? I mean, maybe I do deserve it. So,
Well,
are you doing it to honor God, or
No,
are you
because-
doing it to satisfy your own?
Right.
Okay, so that would be a vice. That would be
Okay.
a sin. That would be your own sin. Okay. So one of the things St. Thomas says is, just because someone has sinned doesn't mean that you can sin. Just because someone treats you in a bad way doesn't mean you can treat them in a bad way.
Jesus also said this.
Yeah.
Love your enemy.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So
Which is like, can I talk about this for a second?
Yeah.
I'm curious. This love your enemy. I've been thinking about it, not very much, but it's occurred to me. It's very obvious. Obviously, it's not natural.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's not something that, obviously, in the natural world, that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you'd have sheep and lions hanging out together, and that doesn't happen. You know, like, so when it says love your enemy, it doesn't mean necessarily to be a doormat,
or invite him to your birthday party.
but it just means to will the good of that person.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah. Do good to those who persecute you. So you don't have to return their evil with evil acts.
Okay.
Sometimes that whole like, oh, don't be a doormat. I mean, that's true. But sometimes the right thing to do often looks like you're being a doormat.
Even though you're not. It depends on your motives, just like you were talking about earlier.
And it depends on who you are. I mean, this is not our topic, but I have a beef with that because everybody says, oh, don't be a doormat. But sometimes, actually, that's okay. You know, like, if someone were to see you, they might say, you're just being a doormat. And you know, like, I love this person, and I'm not a doormat. I know I'm not a doormat.
Right.
But I love them so much that I'm allowing them to hurt me. You mean, what was Jesus? Was Jesus not a doormat when he was being crucified? He was awfully doormat-ish. You know what I'm saying? So, like, sometimes we do.
On the list of humility that Saint Teresa of Calcutta displayed, it says, even if you know you're correct, if it doesn't make a difference,
yeah,
that's
awfully doormat-ish.
Right. If it doesn't make a difference, that's
if it doesn't make a difference, right? Yeah, because you don't want to give scandal.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, with vengeance, St. Thomas says that vengeance consists in the infliction of a penal evil. So not a moral evil. Things could be called evil, like a hurricane. You would say is evil, but it's not morally evil.
It's a natural.
It's a natural evil. So a penal evil would be you're causing suffering. Okay. A penal evil on someone who has sinned. Accordingly, in the matter of vengeance, he says we must consider the mind of the avenger. And
what's the motive?
Already, people want to do it so they can call themselves an avenger.
The avenger.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm an avenger. Right. I'm one of the team. Yeah.
In games.
Me and Iron Man hanging out. Because he says, for if his intention is directed chiefly to the evil of the person on whom he takes vengeance, then his vengeance is altogether unlawful. If he wants evil, like this person did evil to me, now I want evil for you. This is what you're asking about. Then his vengeance is not a virtue. It's unlawful, and it's a sin.
Okay.
Okay, because to take pleasure in another's evil belongs to hatred, which is contrary to charity, whereby we are bound to love all men. Okay? So the reason you would exercise vengeance would be out of love. Weird.
I know.
I know. He says, nor is it an excuse that he intends the evil of one who has unjustly inflicted evil on men. So just because someone did something else wrong doesn't mean you can
go and do it wrong too.
That's not an excuse.
If your friend jumped off of a bridge, would you jump? Anyway.
Right, exactly. So, and then he says, man is not excused for hatred just because someone else hates him. For a man may not sin against another just because the latter has already sinned against him.
Okay.
If, however, the avenger's intention be directed chiefly to some good, to be oriented by means of the punishment of the person who has sinned, for instance, that the sinner may amend, or at least that he may be restrained, or that others not be disturbed, so others
or scandalized,
right, or that others might not be tempted to commit the same sin. Okay. Or that justice may be upheld, or that God may be honored. Okay, so you know, if someone takes the Lord's name in vain, and you know, whatever the situation is, I'm not gonna flesh out a situation because
that is open up a can.
I could see that being a situation where some type of vengeance, and it's not like you're gonna maybe inflict harm on them, but verbal correction even could be a type of vengeance. You know, it's not because that you're gonna embarrass the guy. And so it's not like everything is a life or death situation when it comes to this virtue. So
make sure you slap the next person who takes the Lord's name in vain.
Right.
You're just instructing the ignorant.
Backhanded.
Right.
And then kick him.
Obviously, that's not true.
No. But so that God may be honored. That's all right. He says, then vengeance may be lawful. provided other due circumstances be observed. That's kind of like his catch-all there at the end. You know, like lawyers are all throw that in.
Right.
There's something at the end like provided
This follows.
all other due circumstances be observed.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas would have been a phenomenal lawyer.
No doubt.
A phenomenal lawyer. Okay, so that all of that that I read was his question whether vengeance is lawful,
Okay.
which he says yes in these circumstances.
So when we get back, we should talk about the 4 cries of vengeance. Don't you think?
Yes.
Okay. We'll be right back. Thank you, Taylor Barenko, for this delicious whiskey. More on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass. I was hoping that's where you were wanting to go.
It is indeed.
He caught you so off guard with the middle name question.
Oh, he did. He caught me so off guard with the middle. I was like, oh, I thought, like, my first instinct was bad A. You know, like, that was, like, my first thought.
What's bad? Oh.
And so, like, I was like, can't do that.
Yeah.
And then, like, I thought awesome. And then I thought all these, like stupid middle names. And so I went with Berkey to not do stupid.
I'm laughing because it's not what you did.
So
Could be looking for vengeance later.
he will be, but that's okay. He provided us with some bourbon, so.
Hey, Tomas.
Hey, Tomas, if you are listening right now, we just committed you to the camp out, which you said you would do, but we haven't talked to you in a couple months, so I hope that is still on your calendar.
Okay, so maybe we should also throw this in because we're getting people who are saying that vengeance can vengeance be a vice or a sin? I don't think you can be vengeful without it being a selfish act. Hopefully, I don't know when.
I think that was before you.
I don't know when he said that.
Well,
And if you don't understand retributive justice,
You can just answer him now.
yeah. So I didn't know if maybe like say, hey, we mentioned retributive justice. Here's what it is, just quickly when we get back,
okay,
just so that because that is
that's a big It's
a prerequisite to this whole
we
conversation.
kind of assumed, yeah.
So
I agree.
we'll do that, and then we'll go into the four sins
four-
that cry out for vengeance.
Okay, let's do that. Jim, you are not excluded from the camp out. You just don't want to go. So
How could, you're not coming to the camp out?
no, he's not coming to the camp out.
I'm going to Alabama.
He's going to the
Oh, it's the same time.
EWTN conference. Yeah.
That's too bad.
All right, let's keep going. One, I think I agree though. We do
We'll throw that in there.
Okay. Very good. What would you give this person as a middle name?
Why are you gonna ask him? Why are you gonna ask him? Like, well, it's gonna be your revenge.
No, we don't do revenge, Juan.
No.
Your vengeance. Good. I was testing you.
I'm bringing us back in though.
So he gets to.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's just go.
Get it over with.
Kathy's watching now. Jim's wife's watching. She's gonna be like, "What are they doing?"
Welcome back to the Catholic Men Show. I'm David Niles. This just in. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So we were just talking, and we feel like we should give a definition briefly of retributive justice. That's an important piece. If vengeance is acting out, is the execution of retributive justice, well, what is retributive justice?
Yeah, we kind of assumed.
We assumed the sale on
Which,
this one.
you know what assumed means.
It works though.
Okay.
In the biz, it works. You assume the sale every time.
Always be closing.
Always be closing.
Okay, keep going.
Retributive justice is this. When a man sins, he has received pleasure from an act that should have been displeasurable. Retributive justice seeks to restore the displeasure to the act from which the man received pleasure. Okay, that is the purpose, saith the Catholic Church. That is the primary purpose for punishment in the penal code. That's why we send people to jail.
So
First, it's not to remove them from society. That is a secondary thing. That it's the protection of society, but it is to simply inflict a punishment upon them in order to restore the displeasure. It's for their own good.
Right. So it's that example that people use where your kid throws a baseball through a window, the window breaks, and the kid is sorry that he did it, right?
Yes.
Well, just because he's sorry that the window broke.
And legitimately sorry.
Right. That doesn't mean...
And you've forgiven him. He says he's sorry, and you say, I forgive you.
I forgive you.
And let's just say it's your window. It's your son, your window.
Right, your window, and you say, I forgive you. But that doesn't mean that he shouldn't still pay or work...
Pay for the window, yeah, if you can.
To work to get the window repaired. So
just like purgatory, same thing.
Right. So the justice is that he, even though he is already fully sorry, would be to make sure that the window is repaired how it was before he broke it.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of how mercy and justice are not contrary to each other.
Right. And so
sometimes it seems like they are.
Vengeance would take into the effect of if somebody was not willing to make right what they wronged, correct? So then you'd have to take action.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Is that a correct understanding?
Putting that retributive justice into practice.
Right, okay.
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
So the death penalty is a form of vengeance.
Yes, okay, I can see that.
Okay, I mean, sending people to prison. When I put my children in timeout, that is a form of vengeance. And so I was gonna talk about that. Like, how do we exercise vengeance in our, because it's not always. It doesn't have to be dramatic. I mean, we think about it, like I said, in terms of death. Like, I'm going to kill this person, and that's my vengeance. And that's just like, wow, that's awfully extreme.
Right. Sure.
But anytime we're putting retributive justice, so anytime we're inflicting a punishment in order that a person might be more properly oriented towards the good, that they might learn the habit of turning away from evil, so that those evil acts they don't form in disordered attachments to. See, I mean, why do you put your children in timeout? Are you just trying to be mean to them? No,
you're trying to
teach them good and evil.
Sure.
Okay, and that's the same with vengeance. Okay, so we're putting into practice retributive justice.
Sure.
There are 4 sins in the Bible that cry out to God for vengeance. Okay,
which is when you read that, you're like, wow, that seems intense.
Right. Okay.
But it turns out the sins are even more intense.
Yeah. So the first one is murder. When God comes to Abel and says, or to Cain, "Where is your brother?" His blood, and he's like, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And he says, "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the soil."
Is that like Genesis 18?
It's in Genesis somewhere.
Just
start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Start reading.
I think it's 18.
So murder, and that's the one everybody thinks about the most. Murder is the capital sin.
Sure. I mean, and that's why abortion is so evil. That's why. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing with, especially at least in the U.S. We have a lot of people outside of the U.S. that are listening to our show, but at least in the U.S., it seems like that abortion is the biggest crying out for vengeance.
Abortion is the single greatest sin. In my opinion,
in our time?
You cannot commit a greater sin than abortion. Assuming you have full knowledge,
right.
Assuming all of the things that are required for a sin, abortion is the gravest sin of all. Not only because it's killing of a person, but because of the innocence of the person you're killing, their dependency, and the person who's doing it. For a mother to kill her own child, is, if it was the father doing it, same thing. But
for a parent to kill their own child,
right. Okay, and I am in no way, of course, I mean, you just have to say this. I'm in no way passing any sort of judgment on women who have had abortions. I mean, I'm not trying to lay any sort of guilt trip at their feet.
Right.
That's not what I'm doing. We're just saying vengeance, murder is one of those that is the first in the Bible that cries out for vengeance.
What's the second?
The second one is sodomy, where God says the sins of the sodomites are crying out to me. Okay, and Sodom and Gomorrah, it's not a good place to be.
Right. So, it's sexual acts that are unnatural.
Right. Yeah. So it's not just homosexual behavior. Sodomy actually involves a whole range of things. From
if it's not geared towards procreation and a unit of love,
exactly,
then it's unnatural.
If it's a disordered sexual behavior, it falls into the realm of sodomy.
Okay.
The next one, this is where we start to get into the interesting ones. Oppression of the poor.
Yeah, I think that is interesting.
Okay, and
not that
what is it? What do you think is the example in the Bible that cries out to God
for oppression of the poor?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It's God's people in Egypt.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Moses says, yeah. I have heard the cry of my people.
That makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think I would have got it either if I didn't know the answer. So oppression of the poor. So you just think
there's an example that comes to mind. They recently passed a law somewhere in the Northwest where you're not allowed to pass out sandwiches to poor people, to like homeless people.
Okay.
And it's because
they have a huge homeless problem.
They do.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to do that because, according to the law, you don't have a food handler's permit. So that is hilarious. And so what they say is because you don't have a food handler's permit, the sandwiches that you make at your house that you're giving to people who are less fortunate than you are, you're not allowed to do that because you don't have a food. If you have a food handler's permit, I guess you could do that. But so to me, that would be an example of restricting, something that's against the natural act of like, I'm trying to help the poor, the people who are less fortunate than I am, yet the government is getting in the way.
Whenever I hear liberal logic, I just don't even know what to say. Right. It's like the stupidity is, I'm so overwhelmed by your stupidity, I don't even know what to do next. I am arrested by the depth and profundity of your idiocracy.
Okay.
How was that? That was pretty good. That was an eloquent way for me to insult somebody.
Yeah, because we'll definitely get emails about that.
I really liked it. Okay, so then the fourth one is injustice to the wage earner. Kind of similar, oppression of the poor, but it's
don't you think that this is interesting?
Way.
Don't you think that it's interesting that this is one of, like, so you're going from murder to sexual sins to the to people who are less fortunate to now like a just wage.
Yeah, but if you look at what's happening, taking advantage of innocence,
right,
in every
and human dignity.
Yeah, but the poor cannot. They're helpless. In these situations, we're talking about people who are helpless, and you are inflicting. You're
capitalizing on their
right. Okay, so in Deuteronomy 24, verse 14 and 15, you shall not withhold the wages of the poor and needy laborers, whether other Israelites or aliens who reside in your lands, in one of your towns. You shall pay them their wages daily before sunset, because they are poor and their livelihoods depend on them. Otherwise, they might cry out to the Lord against you, and you would incur guilt.
So that doesn't necessarily mean in this day and age that you need to make sure you pay your workers every single day. But it means,
no.
But what it means is like,
it doesn't say some people will incur this as like, political pay a living wage. Doesn't mean that a Walmart cashier has to pay. I should be making $40,000 a year. That's not what it says. It says pay them their wages,
which kind of assumes that you guys have come to agreement. This is what I should make.
Right. And this is totally separate. A just wage should be paid, but a just wage is different for a high schooler than it is for a single mother. That's not our topic today.
Right.
What the topic is people who are poor. Because what used to happen is, oh, you're a laborer. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, come work in my fields. Come harvest my grapes or whatever. and I'll pay you. And then at the end of the day, it's like,
They don't pay.
I'm not going to pay you.
Right.
I didn't like how hard you were. It's like, no, that is a sin that cries out for vengeance.
Right. So if you're a Catholic man who owns a business or something like that, it is your responsibility and duty to make sure that you're paying a just wage to the people that you employ.
Well, that's yes, that is, but that's not what we're talking about here. Whatever it is, the wage that you have established, you have to pay that. If you're not paying a just wage, that's a separate sin.
Okay.
That's a separate issue.
Okay.
You should be paying it. You should be paying a
Right.
just wage. But also, you should pay the wage that you said you were,
Going to.
Yeah.
Let your yes be yes and no mean no.
Yeah, exactly. Be a man of your word.
That's why we pay Juan and Jim the big bucks.
Way to go, guys. Congratulations.
All right. We've been drinking a little bit of Fireside bourbon whiskey, talked a little bit about a miter saw and Vengeance, one of the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
And cheers to Jesus.
Cheers to a good show.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only had 2 sidetracks. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. 2 sidetracks on an episode is pretty good. And one of them was my fault. Typically, the sidetracks are always Dave. One of them was my fault. So if you really want to, throw mine out, then we're only 1. It's pretty good. Right? I like your hat, by the way, Dave.
Thank you.
I like the. It's not a
Thank you.
news. It's not a newsboy or newsboy cap. But I forget what they're called.
I don't remember what it's called either.
But I like it.
Thank you. I also like my shirt, Grateful Dad shirt.
Grateful Dad. Yeah. When you walked in, I was like, why is he wearing a Grateful Dead shirt?
Grateful Dad.
Yeah. It's like I didn't know you were a Jerry Garcia fan.
It's a Life is Good shirt.
Ah. If Juan says it's good, it's good. The sidetrack was my lack of understanding. Thanks for clarifying. Oh, you're welcome, Luke. I think that Juan is a pretty good judge of whether or not. Sometimes he comes back and tells us, like, listen, guys, that wasn't very good. And it's like, I thought it was good. He's like, no, it wasn't very good. And then I listen to it and I'm like, yeah, he's right. The thing about Juan
But
is
usually you're the one who thinks it's not good.
usually I'm the one who
You're overly critical.
I am.
If you don't mind me, just saying one of your faults to everybody.
I don't.
Yeah.
Typically when we finish, at least about 40%, maybe 35% of the time, I'm thinking like, that was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it wasn't.
Yeah, but usually you're wrong.
That's something I'm okay with being wrong at.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you got to be wrong, it's better for the situation to be like, things were a lot better than you thought.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's like, there's one time I thought I was wrong, and it turns out I was right.
right. That's the only thing I've ever been wrong about.
Right.
Yeah, because I thought I was wrong.
And then it turned out I was right.
And then I was wrong about being wrong. Yeah.
Right.
Mention Patreon.
Oh, yes. You can support The Catholic Man Show by going to patreon.com/The Catholic Man Show, or go to thecatholicmanshow.com. You can find it there. All of your support goes 100% back into the show. Dave and I do not take a cut. If you'd like us to come speak at your men's groups or anything like that, you can go to our website, and there's like a speaking engagement button that you can click on. Turns out we may be going to Atlanta next year. We're going to California next year. Maybe going to Phoenix again next year. We have a busy schedule that's lining up next year.
Maybe to heaven. Who knows?
Maybe
God does. He knows.
He knows. So,
You know what? Let's talk about another thing about vengeance real quick, because we didn't talk about this, and I think this is funny.
Okay.
Whether vengeance should be wrought by means of punishment customary among men. This is a question he asks. Like of the normal things that men in society uses to punish people, should we be doing it that way? And he starts off with, I answer, respondio. We should start quoting St. Thomas only in Latin.
It's like 3 people would know
never
anything
mind,
about
bad
it.
idea.
That was a stupid idea.
Vengeance is lawful and virtuous. Can you imagine, like, I'm going to cut off your hand, and it is indeed a virtue of mine. Vengeance is lawful and virtuous so far as it tends to the prevention of evil. Not to say that it couldn't tend towards other things and still not be virtuous, but if it tends this way, then it is virtuous.
Okay.
And he says, vengeance for sin should be taken by depriving man of what he loves most. I just love that. Because that's like something from a movie. It's like, I'm going to kill what you love most.
Which is what, it's interesting he even lists what men love most.
So he says, now the things that man, it's the very next sentence. Now the things which man loves most are life, bodily safety, his own freedom, and external goods such as riches, his country, and his good name. Wherefore, according to Augustine's reckoning, he says, Tully writes that the laws recognize 8 kinds of punishment, namely death, whereby man is deprived of life, stripes and retaliation, or the loss of an eye for an eye, whereby man forfeits his bodily safety, slavery and imprisonment, where he is deprived of freedom, exile, where he is banished from a country, fines, where he is stripped of his riches, and ignominy, where he loses his good name. So those are the types of... It's just so strange, so foreign to us to think about, and really I think is maybe even treacherous waters to wade into. I mean, because there is very easily an element of pride if you think I'm going to exercise vengeance. Okay, and so one of the things it's important to remember that we're talking about retributive justice. Retributive justice belongs to the state. It belongs to the power, to the authority of governance. Okay, so vigilantism is not what we're talking about here.
Not Antifa.
Right. Now, there are some situations where you might exercise vengeance immediately. You know, if someone is grabbed your wife's purse or is in your house. I mean, no, not in your house. That's a bad example. He grabs your wife's purse. You might punch him in the back of the head, you know, so you can get the purse back.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you get the purse back and then you punch him in the face, okay? Because now we're talking about revenge. Or, anyway, retributive justice is not something that the individual has the authority to enact. So vengeance also belongs and is properly exercised by the state. Whatever form the state may have in different, wherever you are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's all I got.
Winged Hussar red wine is the first batch is actually I believe ready. I'm going to be talking to our distributor next week to see what we have to do to be able to launch it. I think there's a couple hurdles that we had to overcome.
Laws.
Yeah.
Gosh,
legality.
Just so many laws about everything.
But it's justice.
Don't you wish?
It's just.
Don't you wish we could just wipe out half the laws? I mean,
maybe.
Don't you think that they're just
depends
there's
on
too
which
many?
half
There's too many of them.
Maybe.
I think there's too many laws.
So anyway, it is about ready, but it's not for sale yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm done.
One.
Put a fork in me. I'm done.
Kill it. Exercise vengeance on the episode.
It's pretty exhausting.